Welcome to another episode of Orange Juice Podcast brought to you by Orange Insoles. Today I have Mallory, our producer, joining us. She's a little under the weather, but she's sticking it out for us. How you feeling, Mallory?
Sick. It's
That
not
time of year.
fun. Yeah, but
Aw.
dealing with it.
All right. Well, we're going to talk about that because it's going to be part of our topic today. And Mallory, I'll let you tee it up for the topic, but I want to say two things. One, tomorrow's Mallory's birthday. Happy birthday
Well,
early.
when this comes out, it's my birthday.
Well, there you go. So today, happy birthday, Mallory.
Thank you.
And as your mom, I love you so much. And it was a very special day when I had you come into the world. And next, I'd like to say congratulations to my Hoosiers, national football champs. I was at the game. I just got my voice back to actually talk on the podcast. It took a week. I was screaming so loud at the game. So much fun. And Mallory is also a Hoosier. She did not join me at the game. The funding was just not there. It was a little pricey game, but
Fair enough.
maybe next year, if we can make it there again, you can come. All right, Mal, hit us off with this topic.
So today, we're talking about motivation versus discipline, which we might be feeling a bit of this right now, especially if you have some New Year's goals. A lot of us go into the new year with a lot of motivation and energy and drive around hitting these goals. And about by February, we are starting to run out of that energy. And that's where kind of discipline kicks in. So today we're going to talk a bit about why that motivation doesn't really last, what discipline really is, and how you can start implementing some of that into your life so you can stick to your goals this year, hopefully. Maybe this is the year that, goal that's been sitting there for 5 years, we actually make it. Um, have you had some experience with like this motivation versus discipline thing?
Well, it's interesting because normally for me, probably around December 28th, I like to get ahead of the new year and start a program because I think mentally, woohoo, I'm ahead of the new year starting. And I usually follow this health program or I'll eat all organic food, only, protein, fruits, and vegetables for 21 days. I do not drink. I do dry January, all of that. Well, unfortunately, this year, not unfortunately, it was fun. But because my football team kept winning, we decided to travel to all the bowl games as they went all the way to the championship. Well, if they win, I'm celebrating. Like I'm cracking some champagne. I'm drinking, a little margarita at the facility while I'm watching the game. So we ended up traveling a lot this month. So I think for me, last week when they finally won and I settled in and was able to look at my goals, I kind of panicked because I'm like, oh my gosh, January is almost over. This is usually at the end of my 30-day focus, and I'm just kicking in. So I actually just started Thursday when I met with my concierge doctor. She's also a nutritionist and stuff. We wrote our 20-day plan. I went and got my day planner, took my journal. I got my new sticky socks for my Pilates class in Pure Barre and just started to get motivated. So I'm like in the beginning of it, but it's clunky because all my friends are ending theirs and I'm just starting. And that's even tougher when you're the only one now on a program and you don't have the kind of the friendship group that you go out with and do stuff with on the same program. So I'll talk more about that in a couple more bullet points. But yeah, that's where I am. I'm just kind of just starting out, quite honestly. How about you?
Uh, I feel like I'm fairly good with the discipline side of things. So as much as New Year's motivation, kind of was there, um, I honestly lesser on goals, more around like job hunting, career things. I feel like I was very motivated at the beginning of the year. Then you start applying to jobs and you're not seeing results fast enough or getting interviews fast enough. Then you start losing that motivation. So I feel like that, is a very similar process to, what a lot of other people. It's like you're not seeing what you want right away or you're not magically on January 1st a whole new person. It's kind of crazy how that works. You don't magically just become different, but we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So with your friends, is their motivation starting to fade?
Yeah, well, I think everyone does it for the month of January, and now we're trickling to the end of January, and everyone is kind of peeling off. For me, I get nervous because when my concierge doctor asked me the other day, "Well, what's your first quarter goals?" And I'm like, one third of my quarter is gone already. I mean, January's out of here, so it almost knocked me down for motivation when she said that. And I'm like, I gotta get up and find a different thing to grasp onto and find some discipline on my own to get this done. And sometimes that's what you have to lean on is your own routine, forcing your own situation to get going for the quarter. So in a nutshell, basically from panicking 1 month is over, that's the first thought I had for my motivation fading is I didn't even start and I'm already fading. And then I got my motivation back again when I got, the new planner from kind of viewing some certain people who motivate me that are on like TikTok or whatever, like people I follow that are, kind of being very open about their health and their weight and their situation. And then also what I love is I'm spending a little time in our South office in Florida, and people down here are so active. So it forces me not to let motivation fade when everyone's like, "Oh, do you want to play pickleball? Do you want to golf? Do you want to play tennis? Do you want?" You're like, "Oh, do we do that down here? Okay, here we go." So it could fade for that reason. But I also say to myself, remember, it's okay to have days you're not motivated. It's okay to have days that fade on you due to sleep, not enough sleep. Maybe you're traveling for work. Maybe you're trying to get your taxes ready. I know I was working till 2 in the morning the other day trying to get everything my accountant needed to get stuff done. You might be buying a house, moving, selling a house. There's just like so many things, or a spouse. Maybe your spouse is now off of they've hit their goals and they were your partner in the motivation. And now they're like, "Oh, I hit my goal. See ya." And now you're kind of on your own. So your motivation fades when your friends and people around you closest to you, you might have done it together. The journey, they got done quicker. And I know my husband can go to sleep at night and lose 4 pounds. He tells himself. I swear men do that. Women, I have not found our secret on how to go to bed at night and go, "Oh, I'll wake up 4 pounds less. Here I go." So I would say, yeah, motivation starts fading this time of year, but let's talk about maybe how to swing away from that and get in some habits that might revive that feeling.
So what I'm hearing is motivation is more dependent on other variables in your life. So like life chaos, like you're saying, like if you're house hunting and have different people around, or you're traveling, all those kinds of things, or your sleep or your stress levels. And yeah, that's good to keep in mind. Like motivation is very up and down and very dependent on other things going on in your life. So it's not great to rely on that. It's a great start. It can get you going and get you to take those first steps, but I don't think it's something to rely on long term. Especially when it's things like I kind of mentioned earlier that are slower. You see that results and like progress slower on things. That can also just, yeah, kill your motivation. Uh, it's funny in my gym, we can kind of see it. It was very busy the first week, and especially in like the cardio room. And I'm like, every week we're just dropping off and off. And I think the weather is a huge part of it too. Like the weather changed, it's a lot colder and nastier out. People are like, I'm not motivated to go out and do that. Um, but that's why we need our discipline. And first of all, when we hear discipline, I feel like it sounds scary. It feels like you're a little kid again, and like I'm gonna get disciplined by like my parent or the teacher or something. I think we have to get rid of some of like that negative connotation
Hmm.
and focus about how it's not a punishment. It's not about hating yourself. If you do this from a place of hating yourself, you're not gonna stick with it. It really has to, I know it's like feels cliche, but it has to come from self-love, and you have to care about yourself to want to do these things and stick with them. So actually one of my favorite kind of quotes, it's a quote I found and kind of made my own, and it's self-love is balancing what you need today with what your future self needs tomorrow. Like, maybe today I'm feeling down and I want to eat a big piece of cake and give up on my goals and not go to the gym, but how am I going to feel tomorrow? I'm going to feel guilty. I'm going to feel upset. I'm going to feel whatever. So maybe today instead I do go to the gym still. Eat on my plan if that's part of my goals. And then at the end of the day, I have some small treat because I want to feel good. Like there's ways to have both. So instead of just having that all or nothing mindset. So, and kind of again, thinking about being the person you actually want to be. I don't know. Have you ever heard of like identity based habits or understand like what that means? So, say I'm someone who like, I'm not like a fitness person up to this point. Like, I haven't been working out and doing those things. And I'm like, my goal is to go to the gym every day this week or something like that. But you start doing it and you're like, well, I don't like you just start losing that motivation and because you don't feel like you're the person who goes to the gym every day. You're like, well, I'm not a weightlifter. I don't do that. It's like not part of who you are yet. But if you start telling yourself, I am someone who goes to the gym, I am a weightlifter, and like kind of gaslight yourself and do that fake it till you make it, you'll start identifying with those habits and want to do them. It doesn't feel like you're forcing yourself to, it just feels like who you are. Does that make sense?
It does because for even health issues, you tell your brain, you convince your brain of what's happening. So exactly what your point, like if you're sick or you're gonna, you're worried you have cancer or whatever it might be, you will talk your brain into believing that, and then your body will react to it. So same thing. If you're talking yourself into it, saying it every day, or to other people, even just saying it out loud is very convincing. And you're right, you end up being that person. Yeah, I will say a week ago, I because all this travel was the last time I worked out. And almost talked myself out of going to this like Pilates gym that I don't go to, but I'm in the South now. So I have to, that's my workout place. And I was a little intimidated because I know the class is hard and I know the people who go to it's the best class to go to if you're a top performer in Pilates. It's called a mixed equipment class and they use all the pieces. And I only own a reformer. I don't own these other pieces. So it's all new to me. But I will say, I got in my head a little bit going, "Oh, shoot, I should cancel the class. I can't I haven't been in a week. I'm just happy to go, let alone try to be in the best class." But I was like, "Forget it. I'm going." And the thing we forget is when we're in the class, no one's watching you. Everyone's doing their own thing. So I think I was trying to talk myself out of it. And then when I got done, I was like, "Yeah, bitches, I kick ass in there. That was awesome." And it just got over it. Even doing the warm up, I'm like, "Look, I can do this warm up with everyone. This is easy." And then each next, 2-minute routine we had to do, I'm like, got through that one, got through that one. And anyway, it was just a mental thing. You have to just tell yourself, sometimes you do have to use motivation in your own mind, but it's okay if you're not motivated. We all have days like that too. You just got
Yeah,
to get up and get going again.
and that's kind of where, you have to, like, balance that discipline versus, like, giving yourself grace and deciding when you're just, like, for lack of a better term, kinda being lazy versus
Hmm.
when you actually need a break, and like you said, it's all mental. I think the biggest way to kinda tell when you need discipline versus when you need to give yourself grace is you probably need discipline if you're just, like, uncomfortable, if you're bored, or you're just not in the mood, or it can be factors of, like, waiting for the perfect conditions. A great example of this lately, again, is it's been in Chicago absolutely freezing, snowy, bad weather.
I see.
To some degree, it's not safe to go out and walk, and, like, making that decision versus some days it's been, like, 15 degrees out, and I'm like, "It's uncomfortable," but I put on extra layers, I made it to my workout class, I felt so much better that I went and did that. Even just the fact that I got outside, I felt so much better. It wasn't as bad as um, it's, like, kinda getting past, like, that avoidance, that procrastination, and just, like, you'll feel so much better. Like, I just can't explain that enough. If you're a person who's like, I have like 5 things on my like goal list for the day, start checking those off as soon as possible and start with the smallest one. That's going to take you 5 to 10 minutes. Maybe it's like make your bed every day because that's going to jumpstart you into feeling good and wanting to keep doing more. Versus maybe time to give yourself grace if you're sick like I am. I don't need to push through this to prove a point. Like today, I have a goal to get 10,000 steps. Not going to happen. It's really cold out. I am sick. That's only going to make my sickness worse by going and walking in the cold. That's just not smart. Um, and also, I'm just sick, so it's probably not good to do cardio. But if it was just cold out, I could also always go to the gym, get my steps on a treadmill. So, like, there's some ways to do things depending on how sick or, things going on. Um, Also, if you're like injured, please don't push through it. And if you're genuinely burnt out and have things going on in your life and you need a break, that is okay to stop. And, you know,
Yeah,
what do
the
you
thing I
think?
would add there is I had knee surgery back in May, and they still I had 2 tears and a flap removed, 2 tears on my meniscus and a flap removed, and I had a major ski accident about 10 years ago that messed my knee up. So, what's interesting is I did the quote unquote time they told me and I did everything they said, but I'm still having issues with my knee. So to your point about grace, I still push myself because if I don't work out, I think I'm going to gain 5 pounds that day or whatever, or it's just a mental thing for me for stress. So over time, I've had to give myself grace and say, you have to take a break today and you need to ice it today and you just need to stop. So I completely get it when you talk about that. And the other thing is, I try to eat better. And yesterday I was with a group. We went to a restaurant for lunch. They had nothing on there that really I should be eating. So I just ordered a chicken breast on a plate. It was so lame. But I just said, you know what? At least I wasn't going to give up meeting with everyone for lunch. Gave myself some grace that it wasn't the meal I was supposed to have or wanted to have, but I just kind of compromised in the moment. And that's just sometimes what you have to do to get yourself, at least your mind knows what you're trying to do. I think that was the most important thing. I was aware of what I want to do and what my goals are. But I also know in that moment, I had to have some grace in both situations because there's other things that are going to happen. But give my knee a couple days rest with a lot of ice. It felt so much better. It was the right thing to do. And that night when I got home, I had more time to prep my meal and did what I was supposed to do. So I love that you're talking about grace because you can't let one or two hiccups just derail you. We're all going to be in that situation.
Yeah, and it's so mental because, like, with your injury, taking a break, actually icing it, and doing that rest and rehab is a form of discipline. Like, you don't want to do it. You don't, but you are doing it because you know it's better for you in the long term. And your lunch example, if for those who don't know, I have an Instagram account called Mal Tries Her Best, and it's a lot of meal ideas and things like that. That's kind of exactly why I called it Mal Tries Her Best. Like, it's so much of this is about your mentality and learning to trust yourself. So you saying, this situation isn't ideal, but I'm going to try my best is trusting yourself. And like that's something I kind of wanted to touch on earlier. It just escaped me, but so much of this about discipline is about learning to trust yourself, which I think is so important for like all facets of your life. Like setting out goals and sticking to your promises. If I say I'm going to the gym 3 times this week and you actually do it, learning to trust that you are a person who follows through with what they set their mind to, that will take you into your career, into your relationships, into like all these other parts of your life, and it will help your self-confidence. So that's why I think this whole discipline thing is more about, losing weight or gaining muscle or like getting the dream bod or, those superficial goals. It's about being self-confident and being someone who trusts themselves. But then that's where the grace comes in of learning to trust yourself as well when it's time to take a break and when it's time to push. So,
Agree. So one thing I've heard a lot about is you should write down. I don't usually think you should do more than 3. That's just me. but you should write down your 3 disciplines. What is your goal? Write them down, and you should say them out loud every morning when you start your day, which I know what they are. I don't say them out loud yet, so I just haven't done that. I should probably just add it into my morning prayers, and then I'd be saying it out loud. So with that, though, just talking about how discipline works, couple things that I've switched over to that has really helped me is saying, "Okay, in the morning, I'm gonna rush to get out, but I know I have to take these 6 vitamins because my nutritionist told me I, have certain routines I have to do that day." So what I've done now is, this is a really dumb example, but I bought a pill case, and it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and so it saves me so much time in the morning. Pop it open. I'm not opening each individual vitamin jar and taking each visual, like, I know it's there. I pop it open. I have my water ready with my packet. What do you call that packet, Mallory? The hydration packet
Electrolyte.
in it, ready to go from the night before. My morning is ready. And to your point, Mallory, when you can start your morning out with just doing at least one of maybe your 3 disciplines, really kicks you into full speed. Then the other thing I've learned is I'm trying to eat better. And instead of like putting myself in a bad situation and my day gets jammed up, and then it's like, well, shoot, I only have 15 minutes before my next meeting. I'm just going to have to grab something fast out of the refrigerator, and it's not going to be good for me because I don't have time to prep. So, what I've done now is said, all right, I'm going to prep 2 to 3 days of food ahead of time, whether it's things come right out of the freezer, or I'm sorry, refrigerator, or I put a couple things in the freezer that I can thaw for dinner that night. So I write out my menu, I get it all prepped. I prep when I have time, so it's not a fire drill and I'm not forcing it. I also prep 2 choices for each meal because I'll write down what I want to eat. And then someday when it's 2 days later, it's like, I don't really want that. I'm craving something else. So instead of disrupting my discipline because I'm craving something else, I just have a couple choices prepared, ready to go in the refrigerator. So, or I know a few restaurants that I could pre order my food from. I know how to do it. I know how to do the right substitute. I think of Tropical Cafe, right, Mallory? Didn't you
Mhm.
teach your brother, like, this is how you read their menu? This is how you can make the food healthier, as another example, as a backup. If you do run into time crunch and you're like, don't even have time to pull out of the refrigerator, I need something to arrive at my door. That's okay too. You just got to keep trying. So I bring that up because for me, to stay disciplined, I also need to be proactive and realize my time crunches and how I get in a jam. And how do I, for me, I can start on a Sunday and organize my week. Maybe that's not your day that you can shop, whatever that evening day is, just to get organized on how to make it easier. It could be as simple as having your gym bag packed, ready to go for the next day, right, Mallory? I'm sure you have a few. You're
Yeah,
always thinking ahead.
definitely. I feel like just to start implementing discipline in your life, it boils down to like starting small and trying your best, doing the best you can and just figuring out what actually works for you in your life. We can give you a billion different tips. There's a billion more on the internet. What works for me might work for you, it might not. So, really figuring out what actually works for you, what makes it as easy as possible for you to actually reach those goals. And then also taking that second to be like self reflective of, am I being avoidant and procrastinating? Or like letting my emotions kind of dictate this or waiting for the perfect conditions, or am I genuinely, injured, sick, and have, blocks? So like being real with yourself and, trying your best and starting small will take you super far this year with your goals.
And try to find someone maybe who shares the same goals. That's one thing I have in conversation with people, and it's not even people who are my best friends. It could just be an acquaintance that you happen to share something with, and then you hear they're actually trying to be disciplined in that same area. Ask them, like, "Okay, what are you doing? Like, what are your solutions?" And can always learn from other people. I know there's TikTok and there's ChatGPT and there's a lot of other places, but sometimes it's fun to just people you might see at the gym, at work, at the coffee station, like, they have answers too. So I'd recommend that, and I would recommend if it's an area you struggle in, find a partner to hold you accountable. So if it's a workout class on a consistent basis, it's cold out, but we're both gonna get there, find someone, or I'm going to be organized at work and try to be 15 minutes early to everything I do. Find someone at work that's going to hold you accountable and share with them what you're trying to be disciplined with. When you share it with people, that helps too. And they might come with ideas for you along the way. So, highly recommend bringing someone on the journey. So, to wrap it up, I would say, as we talked about, during this process, is drop the guilt, drop the shame, give yourself some grace, stay motivated, pick out your 2 or 3 disciplines that you're gonna fight for, and if you don't do well one day or 2, bring yourself back to it. Mallory, what's your thought on summarizing this other than get orange insoles in your shoes, they make you feel better, do more so you can do more. If you're
Yeah, that's
disciplined,
part of
it
making it
has to do
easier.
with working out.
Yeah, no, that's part of the making it easier. If you're someone who's in pain, make it easier on yourself. Get yourself orange insoles. But yeah, my challenge for you guys is pick one small habit this week. Keep that promise to yourself. Stick with it. Do it this just one. Nothing crazy. Maybe it's just drinking enough water every day. Start small and keep that promise to yourself. And comment below how you feel at the end of the week because I would love to hear back.
All right. Well, thank you, Mallory, for filling in for Owen. We'll have him back around on the next one. And congratulations, Hoosiers. Proud of you guys. Talk soon.